Hello, everybody. How you doing? Wee Paddy from across the Shuck. And Saturday Ramble. I'm back to my normal. I can come in and just sit and do my. I pick a knife and then I sort of try to make a story out of the knife. And today's story is clip points. And you'll see, but I'm not sure what the title is, but it'll be something like, "Are all clip points the same?" No. Like all spear points are not the same. But for me, traditional knives, I think you have more choice in traditional knives of the variety of shapes you can get any of the patterns in. And I love that a lot of the companies that you're getting them from, they all have something that sort of makes their, you can nearly tell them from a mile away. Once you start collecting knives and start, I love sitting with my knife, and it's silly. It was Randy Johnson said the other night. You go through your knife and you look at it in minutiae when it's your own, and you're having a look at it. You see all little swedges. You see the things that you can recognise from another knife. And to me, that's the joy of collecting. That's the joy, not collecting. That's the joy of being a knife lover. Is when you can just, like a Saturday, I come in, I just pick a variety of knives, and I try to go through them, look at them before the video, get my thoughts, and then do a video. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But I'm going to get a bit of business out of the way. The Jack Wolf knives dropped last night. I'll have to say, if you're still in the mood to get one, in the UK, Framar Knives still has quite a few left, still has quite a few of the carbon fibre left, which is unheard of. They're always gone by the next morning. But I think Christmas this year, people got it a bit tight, and I can understand that. And I would never encourage anybody to get something if they can't afford it. But if you were used to missing out over this last 8 months of Jack Wolf's knives, now's the time to get one, because this is just a stunning knife. And that's a pattern that I love. It's the most useful pattern, I believe, the spear point. This one is absolutely beautiful. So they've got about 3 models of the carbon fibre left, and there's one micarta. So head over to Framar Knives, have a little look. If it entices you, all being well. But again, I would never encourage anybody who can't afford it to go and buy a knife. And they're not a cheap thing to buy. So they're there now. You don't have to rush to get there. Well, at the minute anyway. So, clip points. My favourite clip point at the moment, and it has changed, and sometimes it goes back and forward, is Ashley Harrison. Now, why is it my favourite? One, that this fella does it by hand, and I like the fact that he does it by hand, and that means a lot, and it adds something to it. I just love the deep blade on it. I love the fact that at the tang here, it's sturdy. It's just a gorgeous clip point, and he has a little swedge in the top here, and he has the deep nail nick, which is more of a both Arthur Wrights and Taylor's Eyewitness have deep nail nicks, and I really do like that, because it means you don't always have to have the long pull, which is a pattern. I do love the long pull, but if you're going to have a nail nick, for me, have a bloody good one where I can get my nail into them. They're always renowned for having, a lot of British knives are always renowned for having a hard pull, and you need that nail nick sometimes to get out of it. I've just got one at the minute, you'll see very shortly. I think I showed it in yesterday's video, but it's about a 9, maybe a 9.5. And it's just, if you didn't have a deep nail nick and hard nails, good luck getting that open. But I love it. I do like that. I'd rather have them about 7, between 7.5 and maybe 8 is lovely. But I've never had a 9, 9.5 that this one is. And the big nail nick makes such a difference to get it, because you don't have to pull. This is just as an aside. When you're in a nail nick, you don't have to put your finger in this way to pull it open. That's how you break your nail. A little tip for those that maybe don't know. Let me just show you. This is the way I'll do the 9 one. I put my nail up under so that I'm pushing straight on the nail, and it's supported by the back of this crest, the crescent moon there. It gets in there so it's not bending anywhere, and you pull it out. like that. And then you can get it by your hand and just finish the job. So that's a great tip, because a lot of people think they have to get their nail in this way and then pull it. I rather get it in and push it. That way, because the back of your nail's supported. Sometimes they do go, but hey, be man. Be a man. It doesn't hurt that much. But I love Ashley Harrison's knife, and I love the Arthur Wright. That's the company that him and his father own. But I do love these blades. I love the swoop and the nearly upturned point at the end of it, which is just gorgeous. I really do. This excites me, this sort of a clip point. And I do tend to look for it. But the other thing about being a collector and liking to have, I do like to have different varieties. And what I'm going to show is just some different varieties. This is the Arthur Wright side of the family, because people tend to buy one or the other, Arthur Wright or Taylor's Eyewitness. I like them both, but there's a Taylor's Eyewitness, and you can see it's got that deep body here. The center of it is deep, where you're going to do most of your work, and I love that about it. Their nail neck is smaller and very much higher up on the blade. You can see there's a gap here. The Taylor's Eyewitness tends to be more up towards the top, and there's another company does that as well, but we'll get to it. But I love the shape. There's not a great deal of difference in the shape. It's more just the nail neck that makes it stand out, but they're both excellent clip points. I love them both, and the Taylor's Eyewitness do the very high polish. I do like that every now and then. As a collector's piece, this is beautiful, and this is in desert ironwood, and it is just stunning. Just thought I'd show you these while I'm out. I can't really get it. It's beautifully figured, but very delicately figured. So that's this. And the thing about the clip point, it does 95% of the jobs. The only jobs that it would really, and I'm going to be really honest here, that it's not something I do a whole lot, is like cut pictures out of the paper or go around packing envelopes. I mean, there's people do that, and I can see why they want a sheep's foot or a Warncliffe so they don't have to lift their hand so much. Bless them. But I personally have never felt short. I'm quite happy lifting hand. But if I had to do it repetitively all day, yes, it would be annoying. So I can understand it. I'm only taking the mickey, Kevin. But I just genuinely love the clip point. I think it's a beautiful shape of a blade. And I love it when they do the swedge on both sides. I think there's some clip points, and I think I've got some here, where they only have the swedge on the show side, and you turn it over and it's blank. And to me, it makes the knife look unfinished. This looks lovely like this. You don't need a nail nick on both sides, but it really is just a lovely thing to behold. I just enjoy it. And I quite enjoy having a nail nick on both sides. Just saying. And I should say that to Ashley. He's a custom maker. He could do that. But there's my favourite at the moment. Now, before this was my favourite, and before I sort of met Ashley, GEC I was fascinated by. I couldn't really afford them when I first came around, and then it got to a stage where I was able to get a few. And this is a GEC, and this is a typical clip point of GEC. This is their higher end model of GEC. It's a Northwoods, and you get the long pull on here. No match strike pulls, not over keen in them at all, really. But this long pull is so beautifully done. It's precision. Do you know what I mean? Everything just looks that's where it should be. It fits a clip point blade, I just think, perfectly. And then you take the swedge from the end of it down to the end of the blade. And again, on the other side, it has the swedge. Absolutely beautiful. I really, really enjoy that. And I'm surprised. I never really hear much about lefties complaining about pocket knives, because most pocket knives are right-handed. They're for right-handed people to open them. Now, they're not difficult to just turn it around and do it the other way, but I would love, that maybe some companies would do some with nail nicks on this side, so that would maybe attract more left-handed people into the community of the old folks. But GEC just do an amazing blade. Absolutely love it. really does excite me when I see a GEC clip point, and some of my best GECs have the clip point on them, just simply for that fact. And I've probably said this before at the beginning of this video. To me, if you were to give me a knife that's going to do me for anything, it's a spear point. But the clip point is my true love, and I have a lot of clip points. Maybe one day we'll go through a whole collection of them, but I've got quite a few. I just like the clip point and the all-round goodness. Say 95% of jobs, that will do. But, so what else have I got? And here's just something that I noticed when I was doing it. I put this down. It's a knife that I don't carry a lot. It's a Boker, and I've got a few Bokers, and I like them. And this is a really well-made knife. I think it's overpriced for what it is. You know, it doesn't have the style of a GEC. It's above, you know, a normal Taylor's Eyewitness, just, you know, the bog standard models. But this is the bog standard, if you like, of the Boker. Now, this one's a bit upgraded. And this is the one. They do one, a clip point, and it's got 440C on it with black grenadille wood, I think, on it, and the bolster, steel bolsters. And I do it for about £65, but then you jump up to over £100 for some of these fancy ones. I think this was the Expedition or something like that, and it was over £100 for this. And I wanted it for my collection, so it obviously wasn't that dear. So I got it for my collection, but I find this a very plain Barlow it is, yes, but a very plain clip point. And then as I was looking through my drawers for other knives to put into this video, I spotted this one. And this is one of my favourite old knives. This is a George Wolstenholme. This is a few years old now. It's not ancient, but look at the blades. They look nearly exactly the same, and they both have long pulls on them. This has a thinner long pull. But they both have that look. They look as if they came from... Now, they're not related, as in the companies are not related. This is German. This is British. But these two companies, Boker and George Wolstenholme, and a lot of the other companies, started hundreds of years ago, not just a couple of years ago. And the Barlows are the clip points that they would have made then. Once one does it, another one copies it. It's like anything in the knife world. So you can see the resemblance, that European resemblance in their knives. I think they're pretty bland, to be honest. You know, there isn't the big swedges. There's maybe just a tiny little swedge on the Boker, but it's not even noticeable. There's no sort of swoop to it, which I like in the blade if I can get a little bit of a clip. But they're absolutely fantastic knives to use. These are what I would call the boy's knife size. They're not that big, but they'll do. Again, 95% that you're ever going to want to do in your life, these will do it. It's that small 5% that they won't do. Maybe because it's blade size, or these you don't really have to lift your hand up that much because they're a smaller knife. So they will do a lot of jobs, most jobs that you want to do. And I really, really enjoy them. But very basic. And I don't like paying for very basic more than I feel that it should ask. It annoys me when I have to pay for more and I'm just getting that very basic. There's no style in it. There's the word. There's no style. But again, it's a lovely knife, and it'll stay in my collection. It's not going to go anywhere. Like the Wolstenholme, I love the older knives. So let's step on a wee bit. We've had GEC, we've had the British makers. Let's go for another American company, which is Shatton Morgan, which are knives that I love. This is a beautiful, beautiful clip point. Now, it has a bit more of a swedge than the Wolstenholme, but it's very much in that shape. It's just a bit bigger. It's just, and you'll get obviously different size, but it is very much similar, except you have the nail nick. But again, I love it. It's the high shine. This is the fancy sort of piece. You can get the, again, the Boker is that high shine as well. But you can see the similarities. So when clip points were first around, there was so many different companies making them. And look, this is what I was saying about companies. There's George Wolstenholme and Boker. Here's the thing. This is Shatton Morgan. But you can tell that, well, Shatton Morgan didn't make their own knives. The clip, not the clip, sorry, the nail nick on this, very skinny. It's deep enough, but very, very skinny. I would like it. That's why I like a deeper one. You can tend to, if you're pulling it out like that, you can pull your nail. So, but remember that this is made by Queen. Queen made the knives, I think most of the time, if not all the time, for Shatton Morgan. Maybe in the later days somebody else done it, but I'm not too sure on that. But again, it's a beautiful knife, but it's the blade shine that and that lovely S&M etching on the blade there. I'll tell you what I do like. There's the difference in the Queen made. It's really hard to say. Oh yeah, you can maybe see it there. This comes up more abruptly at the end and gives you a real point, a real sharp point, than does the Wolstenholme's more of a gradual and the Boker's more of a gradual. But the Queen comes up in a sort of sharp belly and up. That is lovely. That, and again, that falls into my, it's a bit different. It's just a wee bit different than most. And I like that. And I noticed that it does go on because I have here, where have I got? Oh, yes. Here's a Northfield, but this is not the Derek Bone Northfield. This was made by David. Oh, what's his name? It's gone out of my head. It's gone out of my head, but it was before he sold it on to Derek Bone. Oh, I can't think of his flipping name. Is Shilling or something? Oh, I can't get it. It's out of my head. Anyway, so this was made by Queen. Now all Northfields are made by GEC, but before GEC, they were made by Queen. A lot of them. I think they maybe used one of other two companies, but most of the Northfield would have been made by Queen. So let me show you. Here's a Shatton Morgan, and here's a Northfield, and it's like the exact same shape. It really is so similar, and you can see the nail nicks are right tight up against the top. Again, I like them bigger, but this is if you just wanted to blend in more. And again, sometimes you just like that. I think these are lovely blade shapes, but they are completely similar. So Queen obviously made this one and this one, and that's how you can maybe follow a pattern through the times, is what the blade shapes are like. Now, what have we got here? There's another. There's a lovely one. Tony Bowes. Now, I love Tony Bowes' design. Everything was rounded. There was no harsh. You just put a Tony Bowes in your hand, no matter what knife it is. There is no hot spots. It's just a beautifully comfortable knife. That was his thing. No hot spot. Round everything off. Why do you need a corner? And there's his clip point. And this is a shot show one that he does for shot show. Or shot show, signed Tony Bowes, and this is they call this what do they call this? No, just a Tony Bowes. It's the other one I'm going to show you in a minute anyway. But this is just a Tony Bowes that he done for shot show, just once a year. I think they made these. Now they would have sold them throughout the year. There was quite a lot of them made. It's not something that was hard to get, but a beautiful knife. But the clip point is just lovely. It's not. It's a shallower one. It's got less of a clip on that I particularly like, but there's just something about Tony Bowes. This swedge he has here, it starts behind the nail nick and then comes up above it and back down again. It is beautiful, and it gives you nearly that. Let me get that up closer to you. There's that. Look at that. It is. It just looks lovely, and it gives it that. Not rounded. Sorry, I hit that again. I'm always doing that. It gives you that flow of the knife coming over and down. I just think it's beautiful. Tony Bowes was a master. He really was a master. I haven't got my other Tony Bowes out. Oh well, there we go. I'd have to open up that drawer. But we'll get to it another day. Another person that made knives and case knives, you can see where they sort of take from Tony Bowes and his influence that he had on them once he came to work for them. And the last but not least that I've got out today is a right up to date, a modern one, designed by somebody in the last year, or maybe a year and a half, 2 years. But the things that I like about, it's a Jack Wolf knife. It's deep, and it's deep from here, from the ricasso, right the way up to the center of the blade. Look how deep that is. If you're going to do any cutting, it's usually going to be down here if you're doing power strokes. You don't want to be doing a power stroke up here if you can help it. Get your finger up there and do it. But you need a bit of meat behind it, and this is a beautiful bit of meat. The swedge is on both sides. I really just love that. The nail nick is a small nail nick, but it's deep enough. But in these knives, you don't need it because of the hollow grind and the sharp edges up here. You can just pull this open, but it's deep enough you can get your thumb in. You could even do it that way with that one and push open. That's a great tip, by the way, if you're ever struggling. But it's a beautiful knife. It's just, it looks like a knife that can do work. A lot of these little, the little thin clip points, you can't see them doing a whole lot of work. It's not that much smaller, but you can see the difference. This has got meat behind it. And very much in keeping with what I like Ashley's. You can see the comparison, if you like. You can see the meat behind it. It looks like a working knife. It is a working knife, but it's a beautiful working knife, and so is that. So, it's just my wee thoughts on clip points, and I think that's what I like more about the traditional knives. When you get a pattern and you get the like Barlow's, or like, I like them all, but I mean, I like Barlow's. They would be that's my pretty knives. I think they look the most handsome of all knives because they look a wee bit threatening, but yet they're there for a reason. You can get the point in and do things. These people who say you can't poke with a clip point, I don't understand that. The tip of the blade is straight out in front of you on most clip points. I mean, I have never had a problem poking and cutting with a clip point. Never. Yes, I can understand this bit. For Kevin used to do a lot of, sorry, that's lefty, and it's just a wee bit of a running thing. Kevin used to cut a lot of things up, and he used the point, and that's what you want. He likes Wharncliffes, he likes sheepfoot blades. That's what it's perfect. And that's why knives are so good. You can adapt them to whatever work you're doing. Doesn't matter. And that's why I like the clip point. It's so adaptable. You can pick one specifically for you. This is a slicer. This is not so much a slicer, but a great worker. It'll cut anything, this will, but this will do it with ease. And again, GEC, very much more a lot of slicey blades, but then they have little stocky ones too, as do all the companies. But I hope you like seeing some of my clip points. It's just a few of what I've got. But they're some of the nicest ones I have in my collection are down there. And I thank you very much for listening. I hope I didn't go on 22 minutes. Well, it'll be 23 minutes. Thank you so much for listening to me. You're all absolutely average. So I'm away for a cup of tea. Bye-bye now. Take care.